Today, you will hear a story that will touch you to the core. This is the account of a woman named Grace, a successful lawyer who suddenly found herself on the brink of life and death. What she saw on the other side is beyond words. She became a witness to an ancient battle that is happening even now, unseen by our eyes. Why does every choice we make matter? How can a single word or thought change the course of this battle? The answers to these questions lie in this captivating story, filled with mystery, light, and revelations. Subscribe to the channel and make sure to watch this video until the end to discover what Grace learned about our role in this eternal struggle between light and darkness. This story will change how you see life.
My name is Grace, and I'm a lawyer. My life was scheduled down to the minute, endless meetings, cases, court hearings. I thought I had complete control over my reality, solving problems with logic and laws. But everything changed on what seemed like an ordinary day. I was hurrying to an important meeting. I remember walking down the corridor, holding a folder of documents, thinking through arguments and strategies. My mind was racing with hundreds of thoughts, but all of it felt like the usual hustle that had become part of my daily routine. When I entered the room, I smiled, greeted my colleagues, and, as always, took the lead in the discussion. I didn't even notice how the usual tension had built up, small issues, disputes, and mounting fatigue. Everything seemed normal. But suddenly, something went wrong. At first, I felt weak, as if the air had become dense and heavy. Then, a sharp pain struck my chest, like someone had clenched my heart in their fist. My breathing faltered, and my head began to spin. The world around me started to blur, as if I were looking through foggy glass. Sounds grew muffled, and my colleagues' voices sounded distant, like echoes. In the last moment, I saw their worried faces, and then everything went dark. I collapsed, and my consciousness slowly dissolved, leaving me in complete silence. When I opened my eyes, I found myself in a world unlike anything I'd ever known. There was no meeting room, no light, only thick, almost tangible darkness all around me. This darkness wasn't empty. It seemed alive, as if it were watching me. I tried to orient myself, but my feet couldn't feel any ground, and my hands found nothing to hold on to. This place had no boundaries or space, only a deep sense of isolation. Panic gripped me. And then I heard a sound, not a voice, not words, but a whisper that pierced straight into my soul. The whisper spoke strange things to me. You're not strong enough. You're alone. You're lost. These words echoed in my mind, making my heart tighten with fear. I began to believe them, feeling the darkness grow thicker around me. But then everything changed. In the distance, a light appeared. It was faint, like a tiny star in an endless night, but there was something incredibly compelling about it. With each passing moment, the light grew brighter, and I noticed that the darkness began to retreat before its glow. And then, I saw what turned my understanding of the world upside down: a battle. A magnificent, terrifying, and incredible scene unfolded before me. It was a war where two forces, light and darkness, were clashing. I stood at the edge of two worlds, watching what was happening before me. On one side was blinding light, so bright it was impossible to look it directly. Figures emerged from this light, and I immediately recognized them as angels. They were breathtakingly beautiful and majestic. Their faces radiated peace and strength, and behind them spread enormous wings, as if woven from fire and light. Every movement they made was full of grace and power. On the other side, I saw darkness. It wasn't empty, it seemed alive, consuming everything around it. In this darkness were beings that filled me with terror. Their forms were twisted, as if sculpted from nightmares, and their eyes burned with malice and hatred. These were demons. Their presence felt toxic, sending chills down my spine. The angels and demons collided. This wasn't just a battle, it was a war of two elemental forces. The angels radiated light, and each strike they made tore the darkness apart. Their weapons glowed like stars, but I quickly realized their power didn't come from metal, it came from something greater. The demons, in contrast, didn't fight openly. They emitted strange whispers that spread everywhere, filling the air. These whispers crept into my mind, sowing doubt and fear. You're unworthy. You're alone. Everything is hopeless. I suddenly realized I was no longer just a spectator. These whispers began to affect me as well. The demon's words echoed in my mind, awakening the deepest fears I had long buried. I felt the darkness around me begin to close in, trying to engulf me. But then I heard another voice. It was quiet yet incredibly strong. It spoke directly within me. Pray, Grace. You're stronger than you think. This voice was filled with light and hope, and I felt I could fight back. I remembered a prayer I had learned as a child but had long forgotten. Overcoming my fear, I began to whisper the words. With each word I spoke, the light around me grew brighter. The darkness retreated, and the demon's whispers fell silent. I felt something inside me growing stronger, as if I had found a shield. And then I saw the course of the battle change. The angels, who had been fighting with incredible strength and determination, seemed to tap into a new source of power. Their light became blindingly bright, so radiant that even the darkness itself recoiled, tearing apart like a dense cloud under the sun's rays. Their movements were swift and coordinated, like an orchestra where every musician knows their role. This wasn't just a victory, it was a triumphant celebration of light. The demon's whispers, which had echoed in my mind before, grew quieter, losing their power. In their eyes, once blazing with hatred, I now saw fear. The demons began to retreat, their forms becoming more and more blurred until they completely disappeared into the withdrawing darkness. Then, one of the angels approached me. I had never seen anything like it. His presence was so powerful that I felt my fears and doubts simply melt away in his light. He was majestic, his face radiated incredible warmth, and his eyes held infinite compassion, as though they reflected the lives of millions. His wings shimmered with a soft, iridescent light, wrapping me in a sense of safety, like a warm blanket on a cold night. Grace, he said, his voice deep yet surprisingly gentle, you are important in this battle. Every choice you make, every thought, every word matters. This battle is eternal, but you have the power to strengthen the light. Your faith, even as small as a seed, can push back the darkness and bring light to places where it hasn't been in ages. His words struck deep into my heart. They didn't feel like mere guidance, they felt like a truth I had always known but was afraid to acknowledge. I realized that my life was far more significant than I had imagined. It wasn't just a series of routine-filled days but a chain of decisions that impacted not only me but something much greater, the eternal conflict between light and darkness. I felt a surge of responsibility, but not fear. Instead, I was filled with hope. Every action, every kind word, every prayer was a tool of light capable of changing the course of this battle. Even when I thought I was alone, I now understood that powerful forces stood behind me, ready to support me if I chose to stand with the light. The angel looked at me, and in his gaze, I saw strength and confidence. Your journey doesn't end here, he said. Remember, you are never alone. Every time you choose faith and light, you become part of the victory. Those words became a revelation to me. The world I had known no longer seemed the same. I began to see everything differently. What once felt mundane, simple conversations, daily actions, even thoughts, now felt significant. I could no longer ignore the fact that every decision I made had consequences in this great spiritual battle. As the angel moved away, the light around me began to soften. I felt safe, surrounded by an invisible force that filled me with confidence. And then, everything started to fade. I heard distant sounds, the voices of people, the hum of equipment, and suddenly, I opened my eyes again. I was in a hospital. When I woke up, I was lying in a hospital bed. The doctors said I had lost consciousness during the meeting, and my heart had stopped for a moment. But for me, it wasn't just a medical incident. I knew I had experienced something far greater. Now I see the world differently. I understand that each of us is a participant in this unseen battle. Our actions, our prayers, even our thoughts influence who wins. And each of us has the power to choose the light. Now I want to ask you, what choice will you make?
Grace's story is a reminder to all of us that even the simplest decisions can have enormous consequences. We are all part of this great battle, even if we can't see it with our own eyes. Remember, light always triumphs when we choose faith, kindness, and love. If this story inspired you or made you think, subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and share your thoughts in the comments. How do you see your role in this battle? We value your opinions and look forward to hearing your revelations. Thank you for being with us, and see you in the next story.